Hi. This is Mary Drew in Wonderland.
Yo.
We're just hanging out, having a good time, and we're going to have some really awesome adventures today. I'm actually going to pick up where I left off with My Father's Dragon. So last shows, we were talking about getting you guys involved. There's a little homework involved where you can win prizes. So again, the book's called My Father's Dragon by Ruth Stiles Gannett. And I encourage you to go to the library, pick out the book, read along, follow along. And what your homework is going to be is to kind of pick out different lessons that you can find in the book that relate to your life. That, for example, with the previous chapters that I've read, one of the lessons that I picked out was to be kind to all people.
That's
or
good.
to be kind to everybody, and not to do it for a reward or anything, but just out of the goodness of your heart, because it's the right thing to do, and you don't know what kind of struggles other people are dealing with. So we kind of find reference with this when my father in the story meets the cat and brings him in, alley cat, old, withered, and even though he knows his mom doesn't like the cat or want the cat, he still finds a way to take care of it because, it's the right thing to do.
That's right.
And in return, there might not always be a reward, but it just so happens that this cat knew of a way for his father to find this dragon. So that's where we're at right now with the book. We have a lot more fun characters to meet. So I'm going to start with chapter 5. My father meets some tigers. The river was very wide and muddy, and the jungle was very gloomy and dense. The trees grew close to each other, and what room there was between them was taken up by great high ferns with sticky leaves. My father hated to leave the beach, but he decided to start along the river bank, where at least the jungle wasn't quite so thick. He ate 3 tangerines, making sure to keep all the peels this time, and put on his rubber boots. My father tried to follow the riverbank, but it was very swampy, and as he went farther from the swamp, it became deeper. When it was almost as deep as his boot tops, he got stuck in the oozy, mucky mud. My father tugged and nearly pulled his boots right off, but at last he managed to wade to the drier place. Here, the jungle was so thick that he could hardly see where the river was. He unpacked his compass and figured out the direction he should walk in order to stay near the river. But he didn't know that the river made a very sharp curve away from him, just a little way beyond. And so, as he walked straight ahead, he was getting farther and farther away from the river. It was very hard to walk in the jungle. The sticky leaves of the ferns caught at my father's hair, and he kept tripping over roots and rotten logs. Sometimes the trees were clumped so close together that he couldn't squeeze between them and had to walk a long way around. He began to hear whispering noises, but he couldn't see any animals anywhere. The deeper into the jungle he went, the surer he was that something was following him. And then he thought he heard whispering noises on both sides of him, as well as behind. He tried to run, but he tripped over more roots, and the noises only came nearer. Once or twice he thought he heard something laughing at him. At last, he came out into a clearing and ran right into the middle of it, so that way he could see anything that might try to attack him. Was he surprised when he looked and saw 14 green eyes coming out of the jungle all around the clearing? And when the green eyes turned into 7 tigers, the tigers walked around him in a big circle, looking hungrier all the time. And then they sat down and began to talk. I suppose you thought we didn't know you were trespassing in our jungle. Then the next tiger spoke. I suppose you are going to say you didn't know it was our jungle. Did you know that not one explorer has ever left this island alive? Said the third tiger. My father thought of the cat and knew this wasn't true, but of course he had too much sense to say so. One doesn't contradict a hungry tiger. The tigers went on talking in turn.
You're the first little boy, you know. I'm curious to know if you're especially tender.
Maybe you think we have regular meals, but we don't. We just eat whenever we're feeling hungry.
Wow.
And we're very hungry right now. In fact, I can hardly wait, said the other tiger.
I can't wait. And then all the tigers said together real loud, "Let's begin right now!" And they moved in closer. My father looked at those 7 hungry tigers, and then he had an idea. He quickly opened his knapsack and took out the chewing gum. The cat had told him that the tigers were especially fond of chewing gum, which was very scarce on the island. So he threw them each a piece, but they only growled. "As fond as we are of chewing gum, we're sure we'd like little boys even better." And they moved closer to him. And then he could feel them breathing on his face. "But this is very special chewing gum," said my father. "If you keep on chewing it long enough, it will turn green, and then if you plant it, it will grow more chewing gum, and the sooner you start chewing, the sooner you'll have more." The tiger said, "Why, you don't say. Isn't that fine?" And as each one wanted to be the first to plant the chewing gum, they all unwrapped their pieces and began chewing as hard as they could. Every once in a while, one tiger would look into another's mouth and say, "Nope, it's not done yet," until finally they were all so busy looking into each other's mouths to make sure that no one was getting ahead that they forgot all about my father. Chapter 6. My father meets a rhinoceros. My father soon found a trail leading away from the clearing. All sorts of animals might be using it, but he decided to follow the trail no matter what he met because it might lead to the dragon. He kept a sharp lookout in front and behind and went on. Just as he was feeling quite safe, he came around a curve right behind the 2 wild boars. One of them was saying to the other, "Did you know that Tortoise thought they saw Monkey carrying his sick grandmother to the doctor last night? But Monkey's grandmother died a week ago, so they must have not seen something that they thought they did see. I wonder what it was." "I told you that there was an invasion afoot," said the other boar, "and I intend to find out what it is. I simply can't stand invasions."
"Me neither," said a tiny little voice. Me neither."
And my father knew that was the mouse, and he was with them too.
Well,
Said the first boar,
you search the trail up with this, and I'll go to the dragon. I'll go back down the other way through the big clearing, and we'll send Mouse to watch the ocean rocks in case the invasion should decide to go away before we find it.
My father hid behind a mahogany tree just in time, and the first boar walked right past him. My father waited for the other boar to get a head start on him, but he didn't wait very long because he knew that when the first boar saw the tigers chewing gum in the clearing, he'd be even more suspicious. Soon the trail crossed a little brook, and my father, who by this time was very thirsty, stopped to get a drink of water. He still had on his rubber boots, so he was waded in a little pool, and was stooped down when something quite sharp picked him up by the seat of his pants and shook him very hard.
"Don't you know that's my private weeping pool?"
said a deep voice, and it was very angry. My father couldn't see who was talking because he was hanging in the air right over the pool, but he said, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that everybody had a private weeping pool."
"Everybody doesn't," said the angry voice. "But I do, because I have such big things to weep about, and I drowned everybody I find using my weeping pool."
With that, the animal tossed my father up and down and over the water. "What is it that you weep about so much?" asked my father, trying to catch his breath, and he thought over all the things he had in his pack.
Oh, I have many things to weep about, but the biggest thing in the whole world is the color of my tusk.
My father squirmed every which way trying to see the tusk, but it was through the seat of his pants where he couldn't possibly see it.
When I was young, and my tusk was pearly white, but now it has turned a nasty yellow-gray in my old age, and I find it very ugly. You see, everything else about me is ugly, but when I had a beautiful tusk, I didn't worry so much about the rest. Now that my tusk is ugly too, I can't sleep nights. Just thinking about it makes me feel completely ugly, and I weep all the time. But why should I be telling you these things? I caught you using my pool, and now I'm going to drown you.
Oh, wait a minute, Rhinoceros, said my father. I have something that, well, I think it'll make your tusk all white and beautiful again. Just let me down, and I'll give it to you. The rhinoceros said,
You do? I can't hardly believe it. Why, I'm excited.
He put my father down and danced around in a circle while my father got out the tube of toothpaste and the toothbrush. Now, said my father, just move your tusk a little nearer, please, and I'll show you how to begin. My father wet the brush in the pool, squeezed on a dab of toothpaste, and scrubbed very hard in one tiny spot. Then he told the rhinoceros to wash it off, and when the pool was calm again, he told the rhinoceros to look in the water and see how white the spot was. It was hard to see in the dim light of the jungle, but sure enough, the spot shone pearly white, just like new.
Wow.
The rhinoceros was so pleased that he grabbed the tube of toothpaste and began scrubbing violently, forgetting all about my father. Just then, my father heard footsteps, and he jumped behind the rhinoceros. It was the boar coming back from the big clearing where the tigers were chewing the gum. The boar looked at the rhinoceros and at the toothbrush and at the tube of toothpaste, and then he scratched his head about seeing and then he scratched his ear on the tree.
Tell me, rhinoceros, he said, where did you get that fine tube of toothpaste and that toothbrush?
Too busy, said the rhinoceros, and he went on brushing as hard as he could. The boar sniffed angrily and trotted down the trail towards the dragon, muttering to himself,
Very suspicious. Tigers to be chewing gum, rhinoceroses to be brushing their tusks. Must get a hold of this invasion. Don't like it one bit. Not one bit. It's upsetting everybody terribly. Wonder what it's doing here anyway.
So that's the end of the next chapter.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so this is a really, really good time. Again, this is the Mary Drew in Wonderland with Mary Drew show. And we've been reading My Father's Dragon. And this is really exciting. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that it's summertime. And this is a really good time for people to go to the library and get this book. Do you know if they can download it like on Amazon or Kindle?
I don't know. That's a great question. I'll definitely
Give 'em the
find
author
that
one more
out.
time,
Yeah.
just
So
in case.
Ruth Stiles Gannett, and that's Stiles Stiles.
Because this is a good time for them to give this to their children. They can play back the video and also the audio of this. Come up with whatever those life lessons is that they got, because one of the things that you said is that we're going to be giving away some prizes for those of them that do their homework. And so a lot of parents, and I'm excited because I grew up with shows like this, like as a kid. And I lived for them, and it was an opportunity for me to do kind of like grown-up stuff because I get to watch shows that meant something to me, and I get to follow up on it as well. So this is a really good time because it's summer. A lot of kids are getting out from school and they have a lot of free time on their hands, and this is a really great way for them to spend their free time. So again, the book,
My Father's Dragon by Ruth Stiles Gannett, and homework is to come up with a lesson that you are learning from this book that you can kind of relate to your own life. So I'm very excited to hear what you guys have to come up with.
And one of the life lessons that you got from the earlier chapters, if you can just repeat that, because we had some people that just logged in into the show.
Yep. So something that I gathered was just to be kind to all, not for any reward. Just do it because it's the right thing. Everybody's got stuff going on in their lives. So just be, patient, kind, and do the right thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yay.
So this is the end of this show for Mary Drew in Wonderland with Mary Drew. And again, we were reading My Father's Dragon. Go to the library. I'm pretty sure you can probably download it as well. This is a really good activity to give your kids and get them jump started for the summer and getting ready to spend their time. We always talk about the summer drain loss and the fact that kids are just sitting around not doing anything. I can't think of a better way for them to jumpstart their summer off by getting this book. It has a lot of life lessons in it, and we'll be coming back to you with some other chapters really soon.
Can't wait.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dream. Everything is better when we stick together. Side by side, you and I. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dream.
I know. Everything is awesome.
It's a jam.
I know.
I love that song.
It makes you do all sorts of stuff. I saw that, Mary.
See, we have a great time on this show. I love it.
So welcome back. And we have been waiting to share this part with you. Again, this is the radio station, On The Go Radio, powering the voice of community and change. And what greater way to navigate change by introducing story time and reading books and learning life lessons as well. And this is just an unbelievable show. Mary Drew in Wonderland with Mary Drew. And the voices, the reading, all of this is so phenomenal. There's so many other things to come. But right now there is a book that we have been learning about in Mary Drew in Wonderland called
My Father's Dragon. It's by Ruth Stiles Gannett, and so I hope everybody's working on their lessons because I'm looking forward to reading those. I'm going to start today with Chapter 7, My Father Meets a Lion. My father waved goodbye to the rhinoceros, who was much too busy to notice, got a drink further down the brook, and waded back to the trail. He hadn't gone very far when he heard an angry animal roaring. "Dang blast it! I told you not to go blackberry picking yesterday. Won't you ever learn? What will your mother say?" My father crept along and peered into a small clearing just ahead. A lion was prancing about, clawing at this mane, which was all snarled and full of blackberry twigs. The more he clawed, the worse it became, and the madder he grew, and the more he yelled at himself, because it was himself he was yelling at all the time. My father could see that the trail went through the clearing, so he decided to crawl around the edge in the underbush and not disturb the lion. He crawled, and the yelling grew louder and louder. Just as he was about to reach the trail on the other side, the yelling suddenly stopped. My father looked around and saw the lion glaring at him. The lion charged and skidded to a stop a few inches away. "Who are you?" the lion yelled at my father. "My name is Elmer Elevator." "Where do you think you're going?" "I'm going home," said my father. That's not what I think," said the lion. Ordinarily, I'd save you for afternoon tea, but I happen to be upset enough and hungry enough to eat you right now." And he picked up my father in his front paws to feel how fat he was. My father said, "Oh, please, Lion, before you eat me, tell me why you're so particularly upset today." "It's my mane," said the lion, as he was figuring out how many bits of little twigs were in it, and then he looked at the boy and figured out how many bites a little boy would make. "You see what a dreadful mess it is, and I don't seem to be able to do anything about it. My mother is coming over on the dragon this afternoon, and if she sees me this way, I'm afraid she'll stop my allowance. She can't stand messy manes, but I'm going to eat you now, so it won't make any difference to you." "Oh, wait a minute," said my father, "and I'll give you just the thing that you need to make your mane all tidy and beautiful. I have them here in my pack." "You do?" said the lion. "Well, give them to me, and perhaps I'll save you for afternoon tea after all." And he put my father down on the ground. My father opened the pack and took out the comb and the brush and the 7 hair ribbons of different colors. "Look," he said, "I'll show you what to do on your forelock where you can watch me. First, you brush a while, and then you comb, and then you brush again until all the twigs and snarls are gone. Then you divide it up in 3 and braid it, like this, and tie a ribbon around the end." As my father was doing this, the lion watched very carefully and began to look much happier. When my father tied on the ribbon, he was all smiles. "Oh, that's wonderful, really wonderful," said the lion. "Let me have the comb and brush and see if I can do it." So my father gave him the comb and the brush, and the lion began busily grooming his mane. As a matter of fact, he was so busy that he didn't even know when my father left. Chapter 8, My Father Meets a Gorilla. My father was very hungry, so he sat down under a baby banyan tree on the side of the trail and ate 4 tangerines. He wanted to eat 8 or 10, but he had only 13 left, and it might be a long time before he could get home. He packed away all the peels and was about to get up when he heard the familiar voices of boars.
"I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen them with my own eyes. But wait and see for yourself. All the tigers are sitting around chewing gum to beat the band. Old Rhinoceros is so busy brushing his tusk that he doesn't even look around to see who's going by, and they're all so busy they won't even talk to me."
"Horse feathers," said the other boar, now very close to my father.
"They'll talk to me. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, if it's the last thing I do."
The voices passed by my father and went around a curve, and he hurried on because he knew how much more upset the boars would be when they saw the lion's mane tied up in ribbons. Before long, my father came to a crossroads, and he stopped to read the signs. Straight ahead, an arrow pointed to the beginning of the river, to the left, the ocean rocks, and to the right, to the dragon ferry. My father was reading all these signs when he heard paw steps and ducked behind a signpost. A beautiful lioness paraded past and turned down towards the clearing. Although she could have seen my father if she had bothered to glance at the post, she was much too occupied looking dignified to see anything but the tip of her nose. It was the lion's mother, of course, and that, thought my father, must mean that the dragon was on this side of the river. He hurried on, but it was farther away than he had judged. He finally came to the riverbank in the late afternoon and looked all around, but there was no dragon anywhere in sight. He must have gone back to the other side. My father sat down under a palm tree and was trying to have a good idea when something big and black and hairy jumped out of the tree and landed with a loud crash at his feet.
"Well,"
Said a huge voice. "Well, what?" said my father, for which he was very sorry when he looked up and discovered he was talking to an enormous and very fierce gorilla.
Well, explain yourself, said the gorilla. I'll give you to 10 to tell me your name, business, your age, and what's in that pack.
And he began counting to 10 as fast as he could. My father didn't even have time to say, Elmer Elevator, explore, before the gorilla interrupted.
Too slow. I'll twist your arms the way I twist that dragon's wings, and then we'll see if you can't hurry up a bit.
He grabbed my father's arms, one in each fist, and he was just about to twist them when he suddenly let go and began scratching his chest with both hands.
Blast those fleas!
He's raged.
They won't give you a moment's peace, and the worst of it is that you can't even get a good look at them. Rosie, Rhoda, Rachel, Ruthie, Ruby, Roberta, come here and get rid of all these fleas on my chest. It's driving me crazy.
6 little monkeys tumbled out of the palm tree, dashing to the gorilla, and began combing through his hair on his chest.
Well,
Said the gorilla.
it's still there.
We're looking, said the 6 little monkeys. But they're awfully hard to see, you know.
I know, said the gorilla. But hurry, I've got work to do.
And he winked at my father. Oh, gorilla, said my father. In my knapsack I have 6 magnifying glasses. They'd be just the thing for hunting fleas. My father unpacked them and gave one to Rosie, one to Rhoda, one to Rachel, one to Ruthie, one to Ruby, and one to Roberta. Why, these are marvelous, said the 6 little monkeys. It's easy to see the fleas now. Only there are hundreds of them, and it'll take us forever to get 'em out. And they went on hunting frantically. A moment later, many more monkeys appeared out of a nearby clump of mangroves and began crowding around to get a look at these fleas through the magnifying glass. They completely surrounded the gorilla, and he could not see my father, nor did he remember to twist his arms.
Wow.
Pretty exciting.
I don't know. First off, it sounds like I'm watching a movie if I were to just listen and close my eyes, because she's so animated with her voices. And I don't know how she makes the scary sound, but I was like scary. So what was the part where you had to call off all of their names?
Oh,
That's like my favorite part.
the
I'm sorry, I hate
monkeys?
to ask you to repeat
Oh,
something.
that's okay.
But I'm
Let me find
selfish.
That's so funny. No, it's fun. So, I'll start it from the top.
Could you?
So,
Thank you.
Blast those fleas, he raged. They won't give me a moment's peace. And the worst of it is that you can't even get a good look at them. Rosie, Rhoda, Rachel, Ruthie, Ruby, Roberta, come here and get rid of all these fleas on my chest. It's driving me crazy.
Get ready for more of My Father's Dragon with Nancy Drew. I'm sorry, Mary Drew. She got me all jacked up. I'm calling off names. It's not even on there. With Mary Drew in Wonderland, again with Mary Drew. It's just such a joy and a pleasure. It brings back childhood memories to be able, because that's the way people used to read stories to us.
Yeah.
You know.
With the voices, and, your imagination starts
Yeah,
running.
you wake
and
them up.
And then you just want to have adventures of your own, which summertime's the perfect time to do that.
The perfect time.
So,
Perfect
yeah.
time. So again, I'm excited, and this is
My Father's Dragon
really
by
good stuff.
Ruth Stiles Gannett. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go to the library, check it out.
Get there before everybody else, before all the copies are gone. You might want to also check Kindle. What's another way they can download it?
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah. And see if you can get it that way. This is a really good opportunity to jumpstart your kids' library for this summer. There are a lot of birthday parties coming up. A lot of
How
people
cool
give
would it
books
be to
now.
have like a dragon birthday party? Fun.
Don't tempt
I love
me.
dragons.
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
This was definitely by far my favorite part. So any homework assignments for them? What do you want them to do? Because the parents got to get it right first. Don't be messing your kids up. They're trying to win prizes.
Yeah, so I need lessons that you are getting from these stories. And one of the lessons that I found from the earlier chapters was to be kind to everybody, not for reward, but because it's the right thing to do. So I'm anxious to hear what kind of lessons that you are getting from some of these stories. I actually have a few other ones. So I'll give another example, that there are many things that scare us and that seem challenging.
That's good.
But there's always a way to overcome that obstacle and
good.
overcome your fear. So that would be another example, that there's nothing impossible. You just have to come up with a different way of thinking to overcome or achieve what it is that you want to achieve.
And so if we have any people, Mary Drew, who didn't get to hear the first few chapters that you had read some time ago, what were a couple of the lessons that came out of the first couple chapters?
Well, with my father meeting the cat, and he brought him in.
That's right.
And
though there was
taking
a
care of him.
difference.
Yeah, even though, the mom, all she saw was an ugly alley cat, didn't want anything to do with it. My father thought it needed help, needed a home, and took it in because it was caring and the right thing to do. Not saying bring home any stray cats, but just recognize when you can do your part to be kind to somebody or give compliments.
And value differences.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the other thing is sometimes even if everybody is not on board to value differences, you have to take a stand, kind of like my father did in the story.
Yeah,
And
right.
stand for what's right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Don't, be persuaded to maybe go with the majority if
That's
you
good.
know in your heart that, someone else needs a helping hand or there's a better way of doing something. Be true to you and stand up for what you believe in.
Cool. Oh, that's exciting.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. My Father's Dragon, Ruth Stiles Gannett, and I look forward to finishing up the story next episode.
Awesome. Get ready for much more with Mary Drew in Wonderland on the On-the-Go radio station, powering the voice of community and change.